on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of BSP's Blocked List presented by Couch Guys Sports. I'm your host, Brianna, also known as BSP, and my job is to take you through every story that I'm following and all the ones that I'm blocking throughout the world of Boston sports and beyond. Now, I know the show, again, is a day late. This time it was on accident. The construction that's going on in the apartment above mine is the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. So every clip I tried to film on Thursday to post the show on Friday either had power tools going, or you can hear, it sounds like shit is falling from the sky. So in order to put the best stuff I can out, I decided that wasn't doable. So we pushed the show back. So sorry, happy you're here regardless. Let's get going. Starting off with the Boston Bruins, who eliminated the Carolina Hurricanes in 5 games, which was a pretty easy series. They easily could have swept, but 5 games nonetheless. They are moving on to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It looks like they're going to be playing Tampa Bay in the next round. There's a scenario in which they'd end up playing the Islanders that, given, this show coming out on Saturday instead of Friday, that could already be decided. If Montreal holds on and wins Game 6 of their series and pushes a Game 7, then we'll obviously find out on Sunday. But it looks like Tampa Bay, unless the Canadiens can do what seems to be the impossible right now and storm back, win in 7, and then it'd be the Islanders. And I think if you were, gun to my head, who would I want to play? I think at this point it would be the Islanders. They, had a fairly easy first round, and when it comes to eliminating the Capitals, I feel like the Caps just weren't on their game. They didn't look like the team that you usually see. I mean, Washington's one of those teams that you never really want to face because they're high flying, they're, power scoring. Tom Wilson, like that, I don't need to say any more about him. You just, it's the Caps. Braden Holtby's a tough goalie to beat, and they did it in 5 games. It was kind of incredible. But I don't know, there's something about the Bruins every time they play Tampa that I just don't like. I don't know if they get out-muscled or they're not fast enough. Vasilevsky is probably one of the best goalies in the league right now. It's just, out of the 2 potential matchups, I want the Islanders 110%. So I guess this means I'm, rooting for the Canadiens, which is gross. As a Bruins fan, that's obviously against the rules, but in terms of what I think will get the Bruins to the Stanley Cup Finals for the second year in a row, I think going through the Islanders in the second round as opposed to the Lightning, might be a little more beneficial to the team. But like I said, everything I just said could be, bullshit, because it very easily could have been decided Friday night. Now, with this show coming out on Saturday, obviously, whatever. But the Bruins are looking so good. Jarro Halak went 3-0 when he was forced to step up to the plate after Tuukka Rask opted out. He gave up some softies. We can all agree on that. But the way, like I said, the way he stepped up to the plate and the way the team rallied around him, just the mental toughness it showed from everybody after your Vezina Trophy finalist goalie just decides to opt out. That's such a good sign for this team moving forward. I don't think we're really talking about that enough. The mental toughness, the glue that this team has that keeps everybody together, their chemistry, it was on full display in those last 3 games of this series. And if they are able to keep that up moving forward, it's gonna be a good thing for this team, absolutely. Now, the only reason I am happy that recording on Thursday got all messed up is because we got a lot of news out of Patriots camp on Friday morning. Most importantly, which raises a couple eyebrows, Jarrett Stidham is apparently hurt. The reports are that it's a hip injury that is gonna take quote-unquote several weeks for him to get back to 100%. Adam Schefter reported he ended up having to go to the hospital for testing. So I don't want to say it's all but finalized that Cam Newton's going to be the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots. That's what it's looking like. And even looking at the performances, whether that injury has factored into what Stidham has done over the first real full week of pads remains to be seen. I mean, a hip injury for a quarterback, depending on the leg, could for sure impact throws. That's where you get your power. You move your hips, you get your power from your hips. If he's planting weird and when he goes to rotate to throw the ball, if that is like a stinger, then absolutely that could be the reason that his deep balls are falling short and tailing off. He's missing targets, and that's why he's thrown so many interceptions in the first week. It's all things that are circumstantial. We're not really, I mean, it's the Patriots. We're not going to know specifics of things probably ever. At this point, at least to me, it seems like the quarterback competition's over. It's Cam Newton's job. The train keeps rolling and you just got to go from there. Another storyline that I have been following all week, everybody obviously knows what this is because everybody's been tagging me in reports about all of this and everything. Gunnar Olszewski has been having the camp of his life, apparently. Well, the week of his life in camp, let's put it that way. Every single report I have seen regarding Gunnar, he looks great. His routes are a million times better than they were last year. He looks faster. Bill Belichick in his press conference on Friday morning just had glowing reviews about him specifically. And it's a great day. It's a great week for the brand. Let's hope it translates because there's that 6th receiver spot is really up for grabs. I mean, you're gonna hope that it goes to Gunnar, at least I am, but there's so many factors that would play into that depending on how all the other receivers do as well. It's, you don't know. And with N'Keal Harry missing practice 3 times this week, you don't know if he's gonna start on IR, you don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know what's going on. I'd love to know what's going on with him. Julian Edelman has also been super limited this first week of practice. That I'm not as worried about. He's old. I mean, he's not gonna go, if he doesn't need to go 110% right at the gate in practice, I don't want him to. I want him to be good for the start of the season. I don't want him to go all out at the start of training camp. It's N'Keal Harry that I'm really worried about. I had nothing but positive thoughts about him going into camp and into this season, and being absent for 3 practices in the first week of pads is not really a good sign for me. That definitely raises some red flags. Moving on to the Celtics, who, when I recorded this, were up 2-0 in their series against the 76ers, won decisively in game 2 after losing Gordon Hayward, which when the news came out that he was out for approximately a month, I'm not a fan of it. I don't think anybody was. But at the same time, this team around Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, the 2 J's, I don't think they could play better right now. I really don't. And if they can, that should be the biggest storyline in this city right now, because it's going to be all, on their shoulders. Obviously, Kemba Walker, whatever. It's the 2 J's. They're going to lead you to the championship. If you win, it's going to be because of them. And Jayson Tatum, I feel like every time I watch him, he just does something to make me lose my mind more than the time before. It's insane. The kid's unbelievable. He's only 19. Like, imagine. That was bad. I know that joke has been played out, but whatever. But game 3 was Friday night. I obviously don't know right now what the outcome is. If the Celtics go up 3-0 in this series, I don't know if that's more a testament to them as a team or the lack thereof in Philadelphia. I know Philly is without Ben Simmons and whatever. Sixers fans can cry about that all they want. I don't think that's really that big of a deal because, I mean, the guy can't shoot from distance. Like, whatever. It's whatever. But Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris, maybe. It's just the Celtics team. It feels like the year for the Celtics and the Bruins, even with all the craziness of coronavirus and all the bubbles and the weird return to play stuff, it seems like these teams are back in their groove, back to where they were before the pause and the pandemic all happened in America. I feel like it's their time. What better core to do it with than Kemba Walker, Jayson Tatum, and Jaylen Brown? Like, it's so fun to watch this Celtics team. And then obviously you have, like I always say, you have Marcus Smart doing Marcus Smart things. Like, that's never going to change. Losing Gordon Hayward sucks. You got to hope Robin doesn't go into labor as soon as he's ready to come back, if they're still playing at that time, because then he's going to go home. And then you're really without him. And then what the hell are you going to do? So I know everybody was joking around with her about her inducing her labor early. I saw that she posted a reaction video. I didn't actually watch it. I hope she understood that everybody was joking. For the most part, I'm sure some people were actually kind of serious about it and were kind of dicks. But for the most part, all jokes, whatever. I hope she took it as such and didn't get like upset by it or whatever. I obviously don't know her. just the things that I've seen from her, she doesn't really seem like the type to have like a sense of humor like that. So I don't know. I hope she understood that everybody was joking, and like whenever that little baby wants to come, go ahead. We're not gonna, force it out of you. Please do it while Gordon is still hurt. So by the time he can come back, if the Celtics are still playing, like we don't have to worry about him leaving. And finally, the Boston Red Sox, who I was not planning on talking about this week at all. I figured it was just gonna be a quick glance over like I did last week, saying that they still suck. But they won 2 in a row this week. They remembered how to win, which is amazing. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's like they forgot that they stink. In all seriousness, it's been nice these 2 days to have, a Red Sox win in the newspapers and online and everything, but they still suck. All right, and now for the stories that I'm blocking. I didn't touch on this during the week just because I feel like it got beaten to death right away, but it's, kind of a big storyline right now, so I'm going to talk about it. So the San Diego Padres are a grand slam hitting machine right now. As the legendary, the best Don Orsillo put it, it's Slam Diego, which he said that just came to him after Eric Hosmer hit a grand slam the other day. If that just comes to you like that, it's one of the greatest calls I've ever heard. But what started all of this whole Slam Diego thing, was Fernando Tatis Jr. They were up big against the Texas Rangers. He had a 3-0 count. He swung. The bases were loaded. It ended up being a grand slam, and they went up by like 10 runs or something like that. Because it's an unwritten rule in baseball to, mercy the other team that you're playing if you're up by like 7 runs or whatever, people gave him shit. His own teammates gave him shit. Coaches, bloggers, reporters, this is just me personally. If you disagree with this, that's fine. Everybody has their own weird feelings about this stuff with baseball. I feel like it's so outdated. But if you're gonna, first as a pitcher, if you're gonna load the bases, if you're gonna run the count 3-0, if you're gonna toss the kid a meatball and expect him not to blast it out of the park, I don't know what to tell you. It's his job to hit the baseball and help his team win. That's literally why he gets paid millions of dollars. These whole unwritten rules, they're unwritten. They're not rules. They're just guidelines that, guys back in the day put out there, and they're, with the whole weird, antiquity of baseball, you're not supposed to do this because back in 1954, so-and-so said, don't, because it's kind of fucked up. Who cares? It's 2020. It's a dying sport for kids. Not kids, I guess I'm an adult. I don't feel like it sometimes, but I guess I would be considered an adult. For people my age and younger, baseball isn't as exciting for us and the generation below me as it is for, the generation above me and my parents. That's just how it is. That's the truth. It's a slow game. It's not, I like it. I think it's exciting. I love baseball, but it's just, that's how it is. And if you're gonna give a young guy, one of the young faces of the league right now, up and coming superstar, he's so fun to watch. If you're gonna give the kid crap for hitting a grand slam, who gives a shit? Don't run the count 3-0. Don't toss him something that he literally has no other choice but to hammer out of the park, and all this can be avoided. It seems so soft to me that we feel like we need to keep all of these unwritten rules from 50 years ago in place in a sport that is losing fan interest by the day. What I have to say about it is good for you, Fernando. Hit that ball out of the park every single time, no matter if you're up 2 runs or 50. Who cares? If you got it, do it. Another story I'm blocking, which leads into who's mad. It's a little twofer right here. Charlie McAvoy, our lovely Chuck, absolutely laid out Jordan Staal in game 4. I think it was game 4. Yeah, game 4 of the first round against Carolina. In as much of a textbook hit as it could have possibly been, shoulder to the chest, full body into it, laid him out. He had to leave the game, which sucked, but he ended up playing in game 5, so it obviously wasn't, concussion for a guy that has a pretty serious history of concussion. Jordan Staal, his brain rattles around his head. It sucks. And it sucks that he had to leave the game. You never want to see that happen. I've said it a million times. I even wrote it in a blog. because I'm writing again, which is, kind of a big deal. But it was a clean hit. There's no two ways about it. It was a clean hit, sorry. Not to Carolina Hurricanes fans though. And I know in last week's show, they were my Who's Mad of the Week, which a few of them are again this week. As a hockey fan, I'm putting my Bruins fan personality aside right now. As a hockey fan, you want to see big hits like that. You don't want to see a player get knocked out of the game, obviously, but you want to see big hits. Growing up, it was like guys were beating the shit out of each other on the ice. Nothing was ever called. It was great. Now, it seems like for every, big thunder booming hit that you see on the ice, people are bitching and moaning and they're crying for a penalty. Sure, if it's warranted, if it's a Tom Wilson hit, toss him in the box, give him a misconduct, whatever you gotta do. If it's one of those things that you saw in the Philly and Montreal game that resulted in Brendan Gallagher's jaw literally being broken, yeah, sure, that's a penalty. And if they didn't call it in the game, then I can completely understand you getting angry, posting on Twitter that the hit needs to be looked at by player safety and whatever. I get that, I understand. But if you look at Charlie McAvoy's hit at regular speed and in slow motion from any angle, it's very, very obvious that it's a shoulder to the chest. He doesn't leave his feet. The follow through from the hit, his elbow rises a little bit, but he doesn't touch stall with it at all. At very most, glances his chin. At most. It was a clean hit. I get, high emotions as a fan in the game. You see a big hit like that and you're like, holy shit, that should have been a penalty. That's a dirty hit, whatever. I don't know. There's no, scenario in my mind where I would have looked at that hit and been like, oh shit, like it's kind of dirty by Chuck. Like maybe, he deserved a couple minutes in the box or whatever. Like the hit we saw in last year's playoffs against Columbus. He absolutely plastered Josh Anderson. I'm surprised his brain didn't pop out of his ears because of how hard he hit his head. That was a dirty hit. That was warranted of the penalty, warranted of the 1-game suspension. We can all agree on that. This one wasn't. And it was kind of enjoyable to me to see everybody complain and cry about it because, like we all know, I like, to get people going when they're already going. So that's what I did. And this leads us into our Who's Mad of the Week. There was a handful of, I don't even really know if they were Hurricanes fans or, just Bruins haters, I guess is the best way to put that. But they, all series long bitched about how no calls were going against the Bruins. They did this and it didn't get called and it should have. And just whining and complaining about how the officiating seemed one-sided, which again, as a hockey fan and not a Bruins fan, I really don't think it was. Sure, they missed some calls against the Bruins, but you could easily say the same that they missed calls on Carolina. Like, it goes both ways. It's not one-sided. And like I said in last week's Who's Mad about people thinking that the refs are on the Bruins side, there are so many scenarios in which that is not true. Case in point, last year, Nola Chari. I don't like to bring it up, and I've done it 2 weeks in a row, and it makes me absolutely sick because it plays in my mind, and then the whole thing, it just, whatever. If the Bruins had the refs on their side, don't you think that would have been called a trip? Me too. So, can we stop with that? Can we shut the hell up, finally, when it comes to, the refs want the Bruins to win. They don't call anything on them ever. Like, shut up. Yes, they do. Stop. It makes... When people do that, it makes them look unintelligent. And I don't like to say that because I don't want people, to feel like they don't know what they're talking about, because when people do that to me, I absolutely hate it. But when you do stuff like that and you don't look at it objectively and it's just, with your blinders on, then it's dumb. The things you say are dumb because it's not, accurate whatsoever. Like I said, I know the fan bias is there. And like I said last week, I bitch about the refs too, but again, I don't think I've ever, straight up been like, oh, the refs are definitely on their side. They want them to win the series, because that's not real life. That's not how it works. I know a few Tampa Bay Lightning fans. I know a lot of New York Islanders fans just because of where I grew up. So it'll be a fun situation for me either way in terms of who I'm going to argue with next, as it always is. I mean, even if I didn't know any, I feel like I would end up finding some people to argue with, and whatever, that's what I do. It'd be really cool if it was the Islanders, because a couple of my best friends are Islanders fans, and I know exactly how to push their buttons, and it would be really fun. And then my cousin is a Lightning fan. He's already given me so much shit about Brady and Gronk going to Tampa. It'd be so nice to just shut him the heck up with the Bruins beating the Lightning. We might know by the time this is posted. I right now obviously don't know who's gonna, be playing what and where and whatever and what, yeah. So I'm ready. I'm ready to argue with some more people about hockey though. It's nice to have all of this going on in the summer when you're usually have nothing but baseball going on. I'm yeah, it's training camp time right now, but it's not really. I mean, it's not really competition. So it's fun. Playoffs are fun. So we've got the Bruins and the Celtics still alive in the playoffs. I gave my prediction for the Bruins. I said Bruins in 6 and ended up being Bruins in 5. So I'm going to give my prediction for the Celtics, and I believe it's going to be Celtics in 5. I kind of thought at the beginning of the series that it would go to 7 games, but after the first 2, I feel like unless the Celtics have a major meltdown, there's no reason why it should go 7. No reason why it really should go 6. I'm saying Celtics in 5, and then we'll go from there. So as always, make sure you are following me on Twitter, BSP's blocked list. It's where you're going to find everything under the sun regarding, this show. That's where I post scheduling updates if we ever run into a problem again where I need to push the show back for unplanned reasons. Last week's show was pushed back so I can get 2 Bruins games worth of content in there. This week was not planned, but we made it work anyway. And also, because I've been sipping on my coffee this literally entire time, for all my basic bitches out there, pumpkin is back at Dunkin' Donuts, so kind of a big deal. I had an apple cider donut this morning with my iced pumpkin latte, and it's great. I watched a couple leaves fall this morning, and I kind of wanted to, die, because that means summer is coming to an end, but this football season is right around the corner, and if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what the hell does. We will see you next Friday. I'm not changing next week's show again. Next Friday, it's going to be posted. We're going to go back to normal scheduling. I believe that's episode 7. I think this is episode 6. I'm at the point where I'm kind of losing track. But it seems like every week I have more and more to talk about, which is great for me, so I'm not sitting here just rambling. Hopefully next week we will have a definitive answer on the quarterback situation if we don't already have one now. It's still, speculation. But next week, let's hope N'Keal Harry gets back on that football field, because that's scary. And that's that. I hope everybody has a lovely weekend. Get that last little bit of sunshine and beach time in if you can. And we'll see you next Friday. Make sure you keep that block button handy. You never know when you're going to need it.